Welcome to the Diva T-Town. Welcome to the Diva T-Town, where bold, confident women embrace life unapologetically. From love and sex to wellness and reinvention, we keep it raw, real, and powerful. No filters, no limits. Just fearless conversations to help you thrive. Let's dive in with Diva Mia and Diva Khat.
Well, hello, Diva Khat.
Hello, Diva Mia.
How are you today?
It's been great.
Yeah?
Yes.
How was your week?
The week is busy.
Yeah?
Busy.
Super busy week?
But it's all fun busy.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So today we have a special guest.
Wow. Can't wait to hear about it.
Oh, she's amazing. Her name is Donna Rae. You know how I talked to you before about divorce coaches and how I went through divorce coaching and it was paramount to my healing? And I started it actually right after I got divorced, a couple months after. I probably should have started during the divorce. It probably would have been much more beneficial then. But I love this woman. She really does help you take wherever you're at, wherever you're broken from, and rebuild your life.
Wow, that could be very beneficial for other women out there.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And she's a therapist. She's also a transformational coach.
Wow.
And she created her own method called the Donna Rae method.
She created her own?
She does. She's helped thousands of women across the world.
Helped. I will tell you, this is the mission. And that's why I'm so honored to be on this podcast with you is the mission. It's a soul mission now to reach hundreds of thousands, if not millions of women across the globe to get this message, to activate their soul, to wake them up and to get them to a point of understanding that divorce is a catalyst to their highest well-being. It's not a punishment. It's an invitation to rise to their higher self. So it's time. I think that was letting us know that that's where we're going to be.
No further introductions needed. This is Donna Rae. How you doing, Donna?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I'm honored and blessed to be on this podcast with you. Thank you so much for thinking of me.
Well, it's so glad to see you again because it's been a while. I'm an alum now to the Donna.
It has been a little while since you graduated the program, and I'm loving. This is why I love these conversations. Is I get to see you thriving.
I'm doing very well. I do still journal because that's part of the program as well. It's to journal about your feelings and write things down. I still journal quite a bit. I know that you help people with neuroscience and deep healing, etc. And I think that the way that you approach healing from a divorce is unique. It helps people grow into the future and not look at divorce as the end, but just the beginning.
Yes. Very well said. I think I could see you as a graduate of the program. You've done well.
I know. So can you kind of tell us when is the best time to start and then take us from there as far as the program goes?
Yeah, sure. So, when a woman is faced with divorce, what I think our friends and family inherently mean well, right? So what typically happens, you'll get a whole lot of advice and guidance from Aunt Mary and Aunt Sue and Sally and all of your friends saying you should do this or you should do this or he doesn't know what he's losing and you need to move on and you got to just get over it. And inherently, I think they're meaning well. The problem is what they don't understand is that actually is the worst advice that we could take. Because what we're doing is we're not actually addressing the real root cause issue. We're just burying the pain. And we're burying pain that is not even in our conscious mindset. So just like when you sweep dirt underneath the carpet, there's going to be a point where you can't sweep any more dirt underneath the carpet, right? Like you're going to go in that room and you're going to be like, okay, someone's going to notice like, oh my gosh, we've got a pile of dirt. What are we going to do with it? Same thing within our system. Right. So when you had mentioned before about the journaling piece is so incredibly important, not because it's trendy and not because everybody loves to do it. It's because we're actually connecting with our brain, connecting with the neural pathways, and we're creating a new pattern, right? A new pattern of thinking, a new pattern of being. So the first step isn't necessarily, I think there's a divorce journey. So let's put it that way. I think there's stages of divorce. Okay. So there's the pre-stage where, and you guys tell me, right, if you think this true. The pre-stage is where you're beginning to understand that there's something wrong here.
Yes, I agree.
Right? Something's off. Now,
I know very quickly.
Right. This pre-stage.
I found out there was something going on, and then 60 days later, I was divorced. So.
Yes. You're a little different. Most women will say, there's something wrong. And a lot of times there might be not a lot of times, many times, we have family, we have children, we have jobs, we have connections that are all intertwined. right? So there may be something there, but we're not necessarily looking at it. We're kind of hoping it just goes away. Maybe we'll get better. Maybe I'll just handle and then all of a sudden you hear a lot of these things. Well, that's how marriage is and whatever. So you have that stage where you're thinking about it, which could last for you. Like it could be from finding out to something's wrong to divorce 60 days, or it could be 10 years. It could be 15 years. So that's like the pre-stage where you're trying to figure it out. And what you're realizing, and this is where my heart breaks, is there are men out there who truly want the marriage to work. Because I have colleagues and I have friends and I coach men as well sometimes, right? Because they truly want their marriage to work. So there are really good men out there who are willing to invest in their time. But the women that I work with, these are the women that typically that wasn't the case, right? This person wasn't ready and not willing to do the work. So a lot of times we're going to the therapist alone, right? And we're trying to heal a partnership, but we're doing it solo. And that's never good. It can never happen. Mm-hmm. So I find like the first stage of divorce and the first stage of divorce coaching, when you're ready for it, really, sometimes the beginning really is working with a therapist because we're emotionally not stable. We're all over the place, whether there's an affair, whether there's narcissistic injury, whether we're trying to figure out, like, is it just me? Because now there's gaslighting, there's manipulation, you're being told you're crazy, family, like all of this different information. So sometimes we just need to go to a therapist to get our ducks in a row. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So do you start working with women then when they're with the therapist? Not until they've actually finally decided to move forward with the divorce.
Typically, what I recommend, and again, this is why I say the stages, is when a woman is just, and I'm just going to use this for an example. Let's just say a woman finds out her husband is having an affair. Right. And let's say this has happened many, many times, and this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. Let's also say that this husband has either narcissistic tendencies or is a narcissist. So there's a lot of gaslighting going around. And
not telling my story.
I know. It's like, don't say it. Right. So now you're beginning to wonder, like, and maybe you've gone to the therapist, you've read the books, right? But there's still this, what do I do? Where do I go? And you're up and you're down and you just can't seem to make sense and you are emotionally unstable. And it's not because there's something wrong. And I want to be very, very clear. Being emotionally unstable is not a flaw. It is an emotional set point. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Every
absolutely.
woman and every man are going to have times in our life where we're really emotionally stable. And there'll also be times in our life where we're just not. And this is where we've got to get rid of the stigma of seeking help because our family and friends sometimes can't help us. They end up hurting us because they're giving us information that is not helping. So going to a therapist when you're emotionally unstable, that's where I would say is like, if a woman she can't think, she doesn't know where she's going to live, she doesn't know her financial situation, she's not sure what's going on, she's not sure if she's going to get divorced, if she's going to mediation, she's just beginning the process. I don't think coaching is actually the right tool for her. Therapy is, because she needs to become aware first of what is really going on, become aware of the information that she needs to know, because coaching is looking at the future, right? Therapy is looking at our past. It's understanding the patterns that we have. It's understanding maybe the trauma that we've all experienced as children or through our marriage. And that's really good data, right? But there also comes a time where we don't need any more data. We understand what happened. We know what happened, but now we want to recreate or we want to create a new, path forward. We want to create a new way of living. We want to create and take what the mess was and take that and make that into our miracle. That's when we need to go into coaching, which is the transformational part, right? But if we're emotionally dysregulated and we can't see the forest through the trees, don't waste your money because coaching will not work because you can't get past that neural pathway. You're right. You can't get past the frontal lobe of the brain. Your brain is not looking to create. You are in 100% survival mode where you're always thinking about when's the next shoe going to drop? How is this? Am I going to live through this? I can't take this. I can't see clearly. Those are the red flags to say, okay, I need therapy.
So when I went through the divorce, I had a therapist. Actually, I went through a couple because some of them weren't the best. You got to pick a good therapist. That's really important.
And it's very important. Yeah.
And then I did divorce coaching. I think it was 3 or 6 months. And then I also did the alumni program. So I did the 3 months and then I did the alumni program that you had at that time. And then I also did energy healing. And I tell people that therapy is like fixing your current situation all the way back to childhood. Energy healing is about fixing the current feelings and the present vibration.
Yes, I concur with that.
And then coaching is about fixing from where you are. It's like almost like life coaching as well, transforming you into the person you always wanted to be. Maybe you weren't because you made yourself small in the marriage or whatever it was.
Yeah, I'm going to add something to that, Maria, which is really important because I love the way that you said that. And there's also an addition, which is coaching is taking the energy part is taking the therapy part. And it's not only working on, again, creating the future that we want, but it's teaching you how to use the tools to get the outcome you want.
Yes.
Because you could say, I want a good relationship, and you could hire a coach or you could hire someone, but if they don't know how to transform that subconscious brain, if they don't know how to teach you the tools on how to create the outcome you want, then it's going to be very difficult. So it's understanding. It's like when we were young, our parents and our family told us, okay, this is a car. This is how you get into a car. You have to step on this pedal to make the car go, and you have to step on this pedal to make the car stop. Some of us might got confused like me and maybe use the wrong pedals, but eventually we figured it out, right? So it's the same thing in this life. If we're not given the tools to say, hey, listen, here's what you're going to use to do this. Here's what you're going to use to do that. This is the tool that's going to get you here. This is the tool that's going to get you there. It's very confusing and it's very hard to figure it out because no one has taught us this, right? No one has taught us how to do this.
When I was coming out of my divorce, I kept telling my coach, because it was one of your coaches, that I didn't want to get stuck.
Yeah.
And I had met so many women that had been divorced for years, 5, 6, 7 years, and they were still stuck. In fact, the day I got divorced, I went to a restaurant, sat at the bar, and the woman next to me started up a conversation. And she's like, how's your day? I go, well, I got divorced today. And she's like, so what happened? So I told her, she's like, well, I can tell you're not healed yet. I'm like, well, I just got divorced today. And, it was a 60-day divorce. It was pretty quick.
It's like, I might need a little time.
It was so funny because she's like, well,
great.
You're not going to be healed until you can stop talking about it, right? And then I was like, and then she proceeded, she's been divorced for 5 years, proceeded to tell me all the terrible things about her husband and all the things he did to her and how many times he cheated with so many different women. And I was sitting there going, wait, didn't you just tell me you're not healed?
Right.
And I go, well, you just told me all about your husband. She goes, well, you asked. I was like, no, I didn't actually.
And that you just nailed what I see all the time is people giving advice to other people when they are not yet healed themselves.
Yeah.
And they're doing it. I don't think they're doing it intentionally. Like no one's waking up and going, oh, let me ruin this person's life or, oh, let me give them bad advice. Like they truly are thinking that they're helping you. But that's why when you're going through a time such as divorce, see, when you are pregnant and you're beginning to bring a child into this world, you are given from day one, here's what happens, like the sperm meets the egg, and here's what happens when the egg gets fertilized. Then here's what happens day 1 and day 2 and day 3. So every day, okay, my baby's the size of a pea today, and this is what's happening, and this is what's growing. And then this time, this is the baby, and this is the size. This is what's happening, and this is what's growing. This is what's you could expect, before you have your birth. This is what's going to happen. And so like what's going to happen primarily, you have a good idea. However, when a woman is faced with divorce, there's nothing. It's like a free for all. And it's astonishing to me because the statistics of divorce for first marriages are about 40 to 50% are first marriages, about 60% divorce rate for second marriages, and we're about a 70 to 80% divorce rate for third marriages.
Wow.
Now, the reason being, right, if we look historically at these stats, there is no blame, there is no shame, and there is no condemnation. But what's happening is women are looking to find their partner with their mind, not their heart, right? They're trying to figure it out using logic, but logic doesn't attract true love. Logic just attracts what you think you need and you want. But if you look at your track record,
this
right?
is you.
Yes. And if you look at your track record, you could look back and say, okay, that works in business, it works in survival, but it doesn't work in true attraction. So what happens is you go from one marriage and you attract the same partner in a different body. And you go through the same thing, right? And then
I, for one of the things and part of your coaching is to describe kind of really what you truly want and who you really want to be, and then match that with who you are now. And if you need to change in order to match with what you truly want, then you need to change.
Then it's our responsibility. And that's the beauty, girls. Like truly, this is where you are not a victim to a fact. You are not a victim to your divorce. I believe, now again, people may throw noodles at me and the tomatoes at the screen, and they can. I am within full grace, and I truly believe this, that every woman does the best she can with the information that she has at the time, right? We could look back now with wisdom we didn't have then when we were going through the event, okay? However, we do the best we can with that information. But at the end of the day, it is no one else's responsibility to make our life happy, to create the legacy that we want to leave, to be the woman and the impact that we want to have in the world, no one else could take on that ownership except ourselves. So somewhere along the line, I say it's perfectly okay. Gosh, this stinks, right? Like this is not what I signed up for. This totally sucks. This is not where I wanted. And I could own that. And then I'm going to connect with God, universe, spirit, and source to send me the right people, the right coaches, the right paths, the right material to show me the path where I need to go in order to create this, because I can't place this responsibility on anybody else anymore. I've got to become the one. See, that's the true magnetic factor to attracting the right person who will last and who will be your partner for life, not just marrying your ex-husband over and over again in a different body. See, so many women will follow the advice that they were told of just get over it, just get out there again. You're fine. You're going to meet someone. So they don't do the inner work. They'll go out there again with their brain, trying to figure it out on the 5% of their conscious. They will attract someone in and it will end up being the same story and they'll be in the same place 5 to 10 years. And that's where the second divorce rate comes in. And if they're feeling like they're a little saucy and they want to go at it again, if they still don't change the internal components, they'll attract the same person. So I think the freedom where we are as women is understanding we have a strategy now. And the strategy is if we change, because we are frequency, energy is energy. Like frequency will attract like frequency, right? If you go into your room and you put your light on, you're not going to wonder and you're not going to sit there and figure out how the room is wired. You're going to appreciate that there's light because there's an electrician who's expert at that. Our creator, whether it's God, universe, source, whatever you said is the expert at our creation. We can't go in and figure out how he wired us or like, well, we don't know. But what we do know is the science and spirituality now is bridging, right? Like it's becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, that gap, and that we are energetic frequencies and that emotions have energetic correlations.
The coach said to me too, when she said that when you're determining your next partner, it's going to be different than your last partner. A lot of times we're getting divorced in our 40s and 50s. And the children, my children aren't grown yet, but the children are further along. And it's not like we're wanting to have more children. And so you're looking more for a life partner than a good father figure and a good sperm donor.
Yeah. Yes. No, it's 100%. And what ends up happening is so many women will remain loyal to the wound and not opening their heart to their future partner.
Yeah. Because healing is so important, because if you don't, you take all that damage to the next relationship and you're never vulnerable. You can't trust. I did tell my coach, I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to trust again. And it's been, a year and a half now. And I've trusted a couple men.
Yeah. It goes across all areas of life, Maria, too, right? Because trust is not just in the relationship. If our trust muscle is hurt, we may not trust a parent, a friend, a colleague, because we're not separate from it. So that when that trust muscle gets hurt, it not only impacts us on the relationship side, but it impacts us everywhere because we don't trust life itself. We don't trust ourselves to make a good decision, let alone someone else.
Yep. And the trust factor and the lack of feeling safe after a divorce, and then you go through all the stages of grief. If you could talk to that a little bit, because I know I'm not a crier, but because I'm a professional businesswoman, I've built businesses and companies, but I cried a lot. And the coach helped me realize I just need to let it out. And it's okay. I remember you saying on one of the coaching calls, sometimes you just need to go and cry.
I call it my 48-hour pity party. Sometimes, because here's what happens. Women, and I say this again with love towards women, I am a woman, so I can understand it, and I own it. Women notoriously, and I think it's a notorious, but it also is a blessing because we were created this way. Women are created to bring people together, right? You give a woman an ingredient, she will make a meal. You give a woman a seed, she will make a garden. You give a woman, a family, and she will make a home. But that's just who we are, right? So in our brain, we're always thinking one step ahead. We're always thinking about what we need to do, how to keep it going, what happens. So we're always predetermining what the future could be. And we could catastrophize. And that's where it could go wrong, is we begin to catastrophize. We begin to kind of think about how everything could go wrong, where what we really want to do and what we really want to be able to understand and think about is being in charge of our emotions in the here and the now. being emotionally regulated, and understanding that we have the power, that once we change our emotional set point, we have the power now to create the life that we want. And it's not only creating the life that you want, I believe it's almost like, especially for women who come to me, I think a lot of the women who come to me have this mission inside of themselves to help others, their family. Does that make sense?
Yes,
right? It's not just a healing for themselves. It's healing a generational line and an impact.
Yep.
People may forget us when we pass. Like, it takes 2 generations, I believe, for families to kind of like forget who we are. But the work that you did and the work that we do here at the Donna Rae Method for Finding Love Again is meant to last generational impact forever.
And I think I know it was kind of geared towards professional women, but I think it's actually good for any woman, not just professional women.
Right. And we were talking, just to add, I know I might have got off track there. We were talking about the crying part.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to what we notoriously do, we have had to have been the strong one, right? We've developed a way of living and a way of being that if we let ourselves fall, that apple cart, we may not be able to get that apple back on the cart, right? It's like, oh my God, if I really let myself break, that I don't know if I'm going to be able to really get myself back together. And we're trying to keep our shit together from day to day. So it's like, oh my God, like how can I really do this? But the thing is, crying is actually something that is so healing and so cathartic. And crying is a part of what releases. So it doesn't mean that anybody's weak. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong. I actually love when women cry because it's a release. It's a release of what we deserve. And by the way, like yourself as a professional woman, we've had women who were CEOs, managers of health systems, psychotherapists, surgeons, dentists. Like, we have women who are incredibly intelligent. So divorce doesn't discriminate. It could go to the smartest and the most intelligent woman, and it could go down to a woman who is just beginning her journey and is inherently smart, inherently intelligent, but she's maybe just beginning her life. It doesn't discriminate, right? It's going to impact us. And even the strong women, even the women in the boardroom, sometimes need to put down their vulnerability and be able to weep. But here's something that I think is also very important is, I think Brene Brown said this, is that people have to earn the right to your story. What can happen is if you do just unload on someone and they haven't earned the right to hear your story, they may betray you.
Yes.
They may tell people things, right?
I did have a friend that I was really good friends with.
Yeah.
And it'd been 3 months since I got divorced. And I remember her saying, come on, Diva me. I shouldn't say Diva me, but she said, come on, Mia, why haven't you healed yet? It's been 3 months. And now she's been divorced for, 8 years. People try to rush you along. If you have a moment, sometimes you have a moment 3 months in and you just...
Sometimes you have a moment 3 years in, you need it.
Yes.
I'm married to Michael. I'm with him 14 years and I still have moments of sometimes the divorce will come up, a feeling or a thought or a picture will come up and it will bring me to because even though we have the ink on the paper, even though the divorce is there, it doesn't mean that we don't love the person who we're in other ways. Like, separate the person from the behavior. We may not be able to tolerate the behavior. We may not be allowing that. And that's what we're saying. This is not, we're moving in a different direction. But it doesn't mean we didn't have dreams with this person. It doesn't mean we didn't build, a life together with this person. It doesn't mean that we didn't share things. So there's going to be grief and there's going to be weeping even years later. But the difference is, do I buy a house on the street or do I move through it? Right. And that's what we do here at the Donna Rae Method for Finding Love Again is you don't drown by falling in a puddle, you drown by staying in a puddle. So when you're aware of your emotions and you're aware of the frequencies and you're aware of what is going on around you, you could have that trigger moment. And what I always like to say, memory without the emotional charge is wisdom. So instead of being triggered and having it take you down for days, weeks, months, or years, like the women you've experienced and the women I have that I've held on to for 20 years, that trigger moment lasts a moment and you move on with your day.
Yes.
We have
Because
a
wisdom.
friend. They've been married for a long time and then they got divorced. They fight all the time during marriage. Now they become like, it was the best date. They're back to dating again.
Isn't that amazing? I've heard that. I've seen that.
Yeah, the kids are older, the kids in college. Now they're back together. That like her car broke down. He would like bring her a car. They will like become best friends. It's like a best date ever. They've been dating for the past 2 years.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love that because so many times what will happen in a relationship is there's unrealistic expectations that are there's so much stress, right? On relationships, there's so much stress and children and family members. And, I love my family and I love family in general. I'm just a person that's why we're a family, right? We're a sisterhood. And that's why I've created this community. So we have earned the right to hear your story, and we're going to hold you, and we're going to be the place so you can tell us the story, and we're going to honor it. But going back to what you were saying about how they're best friends now, right, where they were divorced, is so many times family will come in or friends will come in, and there's so much conflict that's going on both parties. And there's just don't know what to do, so they fight with each other, right? Yeah. So instead of it being a collaborative marriage, it now becomes a competitive marriage. But when you release all of that struggle, now they can be friends and lovers again.
Yeah, they call each other baby daddy and baby mama.
I love it. I love it. They're better. So this is an example. They are better off divorced than they are married.
Yeah, they only live like 2 doors down from each other. They were high school sweetheart though.
This is a new trend, by the way. Have you seen it? This new trend?
And talking a little bit to that too, I know that each group coaching call, we would have the ability to celebrate our wins for the week. Yeah. And that was kind of a highlight for me because I actually did a lot of wins and I was working through things. I was very aggressive about my healing though. I really hit it hard.
You were definitely what I would say. You were dedicated, you were focused, and it was mission only. There was no other mission other than option A, right?
Well, I have children, right? So I have children and I didn't like them seeing me messed up like that and broken. And for me, because I'm a sole parent, so I needed to be there. Because I was the only one that they had. They didn't go to their dads on the weekend like at other places or every other week. So it was just me. And I wanted to make sure that they would heal or see me heal and not stay broken as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Because they weren't ever used to seeing me cry. Never. And so I needed to do that for them, not just for me too.
You can rush healing though.
Well, I had a purpose, right? When you have a goal and you have a purpose, and my purpose was them, it gave me extra motivation.
Yeah. And I think children don't necessarily hear what you say, but they watch what you do. And this is why it's so important for this message and this healing and this message to get out there to women is you are the temperature of your family. You are the thermometer. And there's no better gift to your children than you being healthy, happy, and whole. Like we think things would be great, like going on the trips and the Lululemon stuff and the Yeti mugs and all of these things that we could buy for our children, all those things that sure, those things are nice. But children, no matter what age, again, 3 to 33 to 43, because we work with women all different ages, right? It doesn't matter. The best gift you could give your child is a happy, healthy, and whole mom who is living her life. So the children don't feel burdened to manage your emotional set point, that they have to be your friend. They have to make you happy. They've got to take care of you. They've got to make sure that you have somewhere to go for the holidays. They've got to make sure that you're not happy and crying somewhere in the corner. That's a big burden to place on a family. Yes. And also it's highly inappropriate. Like again, when we think about it as a woman, there is again no shame, no blame, but that is like the worst thing we could do to our children is to place that responsibility on them for our happiness.
Yes. I agree.
We got to where we were because of our decisions and our choices, and we may not have known that we called in the wrong partner at the time. We didn't know it, but it's our journey to fix. It's not our children's responsibility at all.
And speaking about the holidays, because you have such a community, I ended up spending the day after Christmas and New Year's with one of the people that I met through the group. This is my
thing. It's so true. Our community is so strong that you could go in our Facebook group, our alumni Facebook group, and say, hey, I'm going to be in so-and-so town, and blah, blah, blah. And there will be a woman who will say, my door is open. We go on retreats together. We travel together, because your divorce is just an event you've been through. It is not a life sentence. It is not who you are, right? And it doesn't have to take 30, 40, 20 years. We could do it in 12 weeks, right?
It's an amazing community that you've created. Yep. And with such strong women that I think that going forward, you will grow. This is going to be a movement, not just
I'm so glad you said it. Yes, from your mouth to God's ears. Because in the past, I used to joke around, and I literally, and I understand now because the work I do and what I teach you and see, what I used to say is I am the world's best kept secret, in the sense that I could help a woman heal Because I know when someone comes in to have a conversation with me and I'm truly listening to her heart, I will know if I could help her. And if I could help her, I will invite her in and I will work with her. But if I know I can't, I'm going to send her off to where she wants to go or where she needs to go to get the healing she needs. But I unwittingly was creating even though our community was big, it was still small compared to where it's going to go. Right. And I did that because I was also raising 2 children of my own. And I wanted to balance being a professional and being successful and running a business. But also, I'm true to my word. So if I make a promise, I want to be able to deliver on it. And I knew if I was in a room with millions of people, like a Tony Robbins, going out to millions of people, then I wouldn't be authentic to the mission and the transformation that I could give. I wanted to be one-on-one calls with you. I wanted to be in those rooms with you. So I kept it a very small community as compared to where it's going. But now my girls are 25 and 22. One's a teacher, one's a nurse. So they're both in the healing professions, right? So we're all in that profession. But now is the time that God is calling me to take this mission, to take this message. And this has to become a movement because we as women must come together to understand that there's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. There's choices and decisions that you made, the best of your ability that you realized not so much. And we're going to take those broken pieces and we're going to craft a very beautiful new vase for you to live life out of.
Okay.
And to give to the world, right?
So that was your ultimate goal of divorce coaching, to make like the beautiful ways out of it?
Correct. Yes.
So, yeah.
Because here's what I don't know why, and this is kind of interesting as you asked me this question.
Uh-huh.
I knew from a very young age that we're in a world that is a broken world, a very loving world, but yet broken.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning there's not many people that are your cheerleaders. When you're in school, you have parents and you have cheerleaders that say, great job. But most people don't get called in the principal's office to get a raving review. You're getting called in the principal's office because there's something wrong, right? But when you leave the traditional school system, the world doesn't look at what's right. It looks at what's wrong. And you're being criticized and condemned and what you're doing right and comparison of who's doing what and who do I need to compare myself to and where do I fall in society and where am I included and where am I not included and all of these different pieces. And inherently, we think it's outside of us being included in certain communities or events or things. But the real shift is when you love yourself. When you love yourself and you activate your soul, you're on fire, girl. Like once I could do that for you, then you could take that fire and you could pass the flame to another woman who could then find her soul, because that's when we become alive. That's when we become like, yeah, sure, we care if someone says something mean about us or they don't include us in their games or whatever. Of course it doesn't. It's not like, oh, gee, great. Let me that feels great. No, of course it feels not so good, but it doesn't impact you. It doesn't stop you. It just, if anything, it fuels you to live deeper, to live more fully, and to be less impacted by the ways of others and to be more impacted by the ways of spirit. Your intuition. See, we've been broken down over the years as women to depend on someone else, to take direction from someone else, to be someone else's wife, someone else's mother, someone else's friend, to give all our time away for free, to donate, to do. But the one person that we have forgotten to take care of is ourselves.
My husband always say, I'm the cause of the family.
The what?
The core, the main
core.
battery
Yes.
of
You are 100% the core of a family. We give, and I believe, and you guys tell me this too, for me as a woman, as a mother, I believe that's an honor. I wouldn't trade being a mother, and I wouldn't trade giving and nurturing my children, my family, my clients, my friends, because it is something that I honor and I cherish. Mm-hmm. And I've also learned to love me too, that I'm important too. Mm-hmm. And that my needs are important and that my journey is important. And that when I rise and I activate my soul, that energy now goes into my children, because your energy, by the way, just think about this. You're on your phone, right? If you're on your phone, I'm calling you. Those energy frequencies from the phone frequency goes through steel beams. It goes miles. I'm here, but you're in a different state. I could pick up my phone and I could call you because the energy goes, there's no time, space. It just goes right through it. Your brain's the same way. So when you are happy and healthy and whole, your energy and your frequency and your new neural pathways lead naturally into your family. So you're now becoming an energetic blueprint for your family to rise up to unwittingly, and unknowingly. That's when miracles start happening. That's when flow starts happening. That's when the job offer comes out of nowhere. That's where your child was maybe not feeling well and all of a sudden they feel better. Or maybe that's where you were looking for something and you couldn't find it and all of a sudden you find it because now you're in flow because you changed your energy. That frequency is now the lower frequency will always rise to the higher frequency, right? So by you doing the work, you lift up your entire family unit. They're getting caught in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're making that change. And that changes, not only does it change the health of our family, it changes the physical health. There's less disease.
You are a good example.
Well, it's funny. When I was going through this, I think I waited a couple months because I was one of the women that said, I can do it myself. And
we all do, by the way. And if you're one of those women watching or listening to this podcast, I'm sending you love.
I can do it myself.
Every woman has done this. I can do it myself.
I'm a tough woman. I've built companies. I am strong. I kept finding, and I didn't use the word broken. I wasn't broken. I was just damaged. Okay.
Yes.
But I felt broken.
I would even say dented. There was a dent that needed to be repaired.
Yeah, I went through
you're not
a
damaged.
dent.
Yeah.
It was just a pause. It was just a pause.
I had a lot of dents. I was 28 years with one man, right? So it was a lot of dents. And so when I went through this, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going all in. And I knew that my mental state had to heal because I've never been to therapy in my life. And I started off with therapy. And then I think you popped up on Facebook. Yeah. I think you popped up on Facebook. I was like, you know what? Let me at least give her a call. And for some reason, I just got this vibe that it would be good. And I think we spent, 30 minutes on our first call together and it just clicked. And I knew that if I wanted to actually move forward past my stuckness, and I was stuck, I would have to hire a divorce coach. And then we get on group calls. Mm-hmm. And there were women that waited. They didn't listen to their true intuition, I think, or something.
That's right.
But there were women that had been divorced for years and they were just starting their journey. Now, it's never too late to start. I'm not saying it is, but I would recommend if you're stuck at any point and you can't move
earlier the better.
The earlier the better, because you're going to waste that time. And I didn't want to waste any time. Because I was the sole provider for my children. I needed to make sure I could get back to work. I needed to make sure that I could refocus. And the sooner you get back, the better. And honestly, I was already getting divorced. I probably would have started during the divorce process so that I could reframe. Because you guys did a lot with helping me reframe my thought process around what was actually going and learning the lessons that the divorce was teaching me. And even the marriage taught me. They were just lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to reframe. And that's where I needed someone to help walk me through. And you guys were so good, so detailed.
Thank you.
And you would smack me around, not physically, but.
So I'm half your cheerleader, but I'm also half like knock the shit off. Like, let's get on. Like, we got to handle it. But someone needs to tell us that, right? Someone needs to say what you're feeling and what you're experiencing is normal and natural because it is. There's nothing that's not normal. There's nothing that's not natural, but it's not right or wrong. It's, does this behavior, does this thought, does it serve me or does it hurt me? And if it served you, great. And it is, because here's what I like to say. When you begin to do the work the way that I teach it, right, and the strategies that we use, you may come in and you may be thinking, let's just say, generally speaking, 80% about the past and 20% about the future. That means 80% of your thoughts are thinking from any given moment, thinking about where you've come from, the pain that you've experienced, the hurt that you've been through, how it's impacting your children, how you're, all of the things, right? All of the things. And 20% is in a hopeful state saying, okay, I've got this and I could do this. Now, 80 against 20, who's going to win all the time? 80% is going to win. So even though you have that 20% of hope, you're going to get clobbered by the 80%. You'll be able to hold that for a little while, but eventually that wave is going to come and man, it's going to take you down and take you down hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we acknowledge that and we celebrate. Okay, we have 80 and 20 and then we do the work. And then you may come back next week and you're at 75 or 25, right? Meaning you're at 75 of the past and 25% of the future. Then you may come back the next week and now you're at, say, 60-40, where you're only 60% in the past and now you're 40% in the future. Now you may have a stumble, you may have a wobble. Maybe it's a few weeks from now you come back, right? But now you're at 50-50. Now you're 50% of the past, 50% of the future. And then what ends up happening is that big shift happens. All of a sudden you're 60% thinking about your future and 40% about your past. 70 future, 30 past, 80 future, 20 past, 90 future, 10 past. So eventually this shift happens. Like you said, this process happens where you are now more invested in your future than you are in your past. You're now thinking more about your life today and how you're going to live it tomorrow and the people that you're going to meet and all the good things that are going to happen. And that's your new garden. Right. And that's what you focus on. And that happens through like this, but it happens through the process.
Yeah. So through your coaching experience, do you have how many people still stuck? And do you have the success stories? Like,
oh my gosh, do I have? I love this. I have many, 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 many success stories, right? But I will go to a few, and Marie, you're one of them, right? Like truly. So you could share your own success story, right? With what happened and where you've been. There's a few women that always come to my mind. And one was Lori. Have you ever been with Lori Z? Have you ever been in, I don't know if you were at the time that you were in there, but so Lori she was an amazing woman and she happened to come to me later in life. Okay. So she had been married to an absolute narcissist, like complete narcissist, and he completely abandoned the family, completely ended up, she was left really alone. She picked up the pieces, tried to figure it out. She now does what most women do, get over it. Let's find someone else. She goes into this next relationship. Guess what? Another narcissist.
Another one.
10 years was in that relationship.
After 10 years.
Now, the problem with the second relationship was not only was he a narcissist, but unfortunately, she was so deeply in love with him. Like the first husband, she wasn't so deeply in love with. It was more like, I'm almost like, this is terrible, but I'm free. Yeah. But the second relationship, she really loved this person. So it was heartbreaking. Like her heart literally broke, right, in this. So anyway, she comes to me, and at the time, she had also sold off a lot of her things and she moved in with her son, because they decided they were going to buy a property in California, and it was a growing suburb in California that they were doing as an investment. So they knew they were going to buy here for a certain amount of years, and then they'd sell, and then she'd get her half and he would get his, and they would go, kind of go on. But it worked out good for her because she needed a place to live, right? And she wanted to be by family. Mm-hmm. So long story short, she comes and she's doing the work, and she's handling and she's doing the work. But one of her things that she always wanted, and this is something that was so near and dear to her heart, she wanted to be married. She was a woman who wanted to be married again. Some of us want to have a partnership and we want to be with a partner, but we don't want to necessarily get married.
Some of us always want to be married.
Yeah, we have one friend that really wants to be married.
Yeah. Always. That was me, in my journey.
But you want a partnership.
Yeah, I do. And if I get married, I get married. But if I don't, it's okay too.
And that's what I always say is, if there are some women who know what they want and there's some women who are not sure, and either option's okay, because what I always say, just wait until the relationship shows up, because then you can make your determination as a partnership. Because in the past, we never really had a true partnership to be able to make that clear determination with. When you're with the right partner that fits you, you're actually conversation is welcome, right? Being able to solve a problem together is doable, right? It's not just one thing or another. But anyway, so Lori does the work, and turns out that her son out of nowhere gets this obscure opportunity to go into another state, and they had to sell their house in California. There's now she's completely feeling a little discombobulated, let's say. But what we kept doing is exactly what we did, right? We focus on the outcome. So there's only option A, that whatever's happening is not happening to you, it's happening for you. So what's the miracle in the mess? Let's keep focused. Let's keep going. Let's keep coaching. Let's keep doing. Long story short, she goes out. She wants to buy a house in Maine because Maine is where she wanted to go. So she goes to Maine and she's there. She gets a phone call from a friend that says, hey, I think you should come up to New Hampshire. There's a house that I think you would really enjoy. So as she's looking at this house in Maine, this random person calls her, which again, there's no coincidences here, right? Like there's zero what's the chance of her being in Maine at the time? A friend calls, says, there's a house that just came up. You have to see it. She goes up to New Hampshire. Sure enough, it's a house of her dreams. She buys that house, right? She had no plans of buying in New Hampshire. She had plans of buying in Maine. Anyway, she buys the house. And now she's there. And again, continuing to do the work, continuing and just kind of becoming the woman, right? Becoming the one to attract the one and finding how to develop, because I believe that in the time period between where we are and when we meet the person that we are going to be sharing our life with, that is a very gracious time that we have, that God has given us to really learn who we are. And to really develop our new identity, not of the woman we were, but the woman we're becoming. So anyway, she buys his house and now she needs some repairs and she hires a handyman and the handyman comes.
Oh, here comes handyman.
Yes, the handyman comes for whatever reason. He's a terrible handyman. Something happened. He never comes back. Just something crazy. So this other handyman comes. Now, when he came, she was like a little spark. You know, you feel like a little
It's
like
a little like Nicholas Spark. No.
Like that little spark. Now, mind you, because a lot of women will say, Donna, where am I going to meet this person? I'm a town with two. It's me, my cat, and my mother. Like that's the town population, right? I don't know. And how am I going to meet people online? And I always say your right partner is not going to come to you through the apps. You can absolutely use the apps, but I like to meet partners organically and naturally because you're magnetically attracting them in, right? The flower doesn't go to the bee. The bee goes to the flower. You become the flower. You become the magnetic attraction. And that's what Lori was. So anyway, with that said, this new guy comes in and they had really great conversation, but he finishes the job, does it well, he leaves. Now she's a writer. And she gets called to do a reading, I guess you could say. She gets called to read part of her work. And afterwards, she notices this handyman guy came to see her, right? That's what I said. I'm like, I know. I'm like, girl. So she goes over and she has a conversation with him. And he's like, I actually, from the first time I know you, I really respect your work. And I have kind of like feelings for you. I liked you, but I'm a professional. I didn't want to come in. I wanted to come and make sure I did the work well. And I didn't want to mix business with pleasure. And then so she confessed to him how she kind of had a crush on him. And she, on her 6th birthday, or that year she turned 70, they were married.
Oh, that's super sweet.
That's lovely.
See,
And they are, when I say to you, happy in love.
Yeah,
they are, and she did not use the dating apps. She didn't go out there to try to find things. She continued to work on herself. She continued, even there were a couple of pity parties we had to deal with over the time, right? But we took the 48 hours. But that was just another layer of trauma that was coming up that we had to deal with. And then once that was done, maybe another layer came up that we had to deal with. But it was like that when she met him. And now, to sell that story always is going to be one of the nearest and dearest.
Maybe
stories.
that will be her next book.
Yeah.
So are you saying like as a woman, you have to continue work on yourself and they will attract another person?
Yes. I did the dating apps for a little bit.
Yes.
And I think I did the dating apps and I talked to my coach about it, that I was so out of practice dating that I just wanted to get back and practice. And I hadn't kissed another man in a long time, 28 years. So I needed to learn how to date and also kiss man again. And see if I could get back in flow. And what I found is that the dating apps were okay, but I would say 3/4 of the guys on there are damaged and they want to use women as their therapists.
They don't want to pay for therapists.
Yeah.
Not against dating apps, because I think dating apps we are in an electronic world, and I think they could be a good tool to use in order to connect a person to a person. But historically, remember what I said earlier, is we're not attracting by what we think. We're attracting by who we are in our heart and our energetic frequency. So if we're going into a dating app, we're using our brain to look at what his profile looks like. We're trying to use our brain to figure it out versus the heart. Right? And then intuition. So inherently, if you haven't done the work to heal your soul fracture and become the highest version of yourself first, where you truly are loving life. Like I have so many women who graduate the program who say, I thought I wanted to go right away into dating. I don't, because I'm loving my life so much. I want to enjoy this time, right? If you're not in that space, you will attract the men, right, who might be damaged, are looking for a therapist, looking for sex, whatever it is. And if you haven't done the work, that could be devastating to you because you don't have the resilience to handle the rejection or just the insaneness of someone who's not healthy, right? Because remember, hurt people hurt people. So now you have a man who could be hurtful. And if you haven't done the work in your value and your worth and your confidence, now here you go. Like, your ex-husband used to call you X, Y, and Z. You finally think, oh, I healed it. Now you go on the apps and you see the same thing. That could take a woman down fast.
Well, when I was on the apps, I'm not really on them now anymore. Every time I'll turn it on for a day and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. But when I was on the apps, like every day, I would find that I would filter through thousands, and I'm talking thousands of thousands, because I'm in a bigger metropolitan area. And I would filter through thousands. I'd narrow it down to a handful, maybe a few dozen. And then from that few dozen, I'd talk to them on the phone. If they'd seem right, then I would go out for coffee or a meal or something.
Yep.
It's so funny because I was absolutely attracting similarities because like out of 7 guys I dated, 6 of them wanted money and one of them was a constant liar. And I was like, wow. I mean, this is like, no. So then I decided to get off the dating apps. And the longer I'm off the dating apps, the more I feel like I'm in flow and my vibration is better. And I don't need a man. So I'm not really like, ooh, I got to go find a man. But the men I'm meeting now seem to be higher quality than I was meeting on the dating apps because there's a lot of men on the dating apps. It's just not such great quality.
I think the men on the dating app, like you said, they're just looking for another type of therapy that they didn't have to pay for.
Yeah,
they're just looking for the quick sack or something, I think. But
and I mean, listen, like if the way that I look at it is this way, if you're a good woman, right? You have a good heart. You've got, you're successful at work. You've got good plans for your future. You've got good family and good friends. So there are men out there, just like you are, that are on that dating app, right? There are good men out there who are on the dating app. However, the majority of men are not.
I agree.
And they are, and if you haven't done the work on yourself to discern and you go in dating without a strategy. See, what I teach you how to do is I teach you how to create your manifestation list. So you have a strategy of this is who I am. This is who I'm looking for. And if that person is not meeting 95% of your list, you move on, right? You don't hope that we could change him or hope that things will change or maybe I'll give him a second chance. That was what we used to do. And now it's more of like we're removing the emotion and I don't even call it dating. I call it data collection. I call it when you're going out there and you're meeting people, it's data collection. You're deciding like, hey, listen, is this a person whom I want to stay connected to? Is this a person I want to continue a conversation with? Because if we don't, then all of a sudden we get caught with this, he's the one syndrome. And then even though this person isn't necessarily what we want, we've been alone so long, we've been surviving as a camel on the emotional side, right? And so when someone shows us a little bit of attention or a little bit of love, our brain could confuse that into love, but it's not love, it's chaos. So if you haven't worked on your own shit and your own chaos, and then you won't be able to discern that. So that's why you have to be able to go in with a strategy of I'm not dating, I am going to data collect, right? People have to earn the right to their time with me. That I'm interviewing them, they're not interviewing me. And it's okay if you have a date. Like I had this one person say, I feel so bad, like I'm meeting these guys, they're not my matches. And that's okay. Like it's okay if you meet someone and they don't meet what your manifestation list. You just simply say, thank you so much. It was a great time and I wish you the best on your journey. I'm going a different direction.
One of the things you guys also taught me was to have boundaries.
We need yes, and standards.
Standards.
Standards and boundaries are big things.
I dropped them when I was married.
Do we even have them? Like, let's be real, girls. I don't know if I even had a standard or a boundary when I was married. Did I have that?
Yeah.
No.
And they walk, a lot of times they'll walk all over you, lose yourself because you don't have boundaries. So when I have dated on the dating apps, one of the nice things is if they're not a fit, I just let them know. And I send them a nice little text or a voice message and say, I'm not feeling it. And I let them go. Whereas before, I would have tried to, reason with myself and make excuses for them and their bad behavior.
Isn't that fascinating how because we don't want to hurt people's feelings, right? Even if a girlfriend invites us to something and we don't want to go, we'll have, the excuse of the reasons why and what's going on. Where really a simple no is a perfect answer. I'm sorry, I'm unable to make it. Where can I send the gift? And that's it. We don't have to explain. We don't have to do. And it's the same thing here is I actually recommend, that's why I say data collection versus dating is if you only are dating one person, you're going to get he's the one syndrome. right? Because you're going to get used to this person, even if they're not the right match for you. So what I recommend is actually meeting different people, but data collecting. So a lot of women will say, well, Donna, I can't date multiple men. Like that makes me a whatever you want to call it. And I'll say, no, it's not about dating multiple men. It's about meeting people. And even if getting the data, and I often say too to women, if you haven't dated in years, if you haven't dated since high school, right? If you haven't gone out there and met someone, start meeting friends first. Say yes to dates when a friend say, hey, do you want to do this? Or do you want to do, say yes and go out with your friend because there's no competition. You're not worried. So you could get used to going out again and used to getting on a schedule. And then again, data collection. You're meeting them. You're learning. You're making determinations. And what I will say is that in my kind of experience and even in my own experience, let's say we have our manifestation list, right? So it's not a manifestation list. It's a manifestation list. So for Michael, on my list was someone who was loyal, someone who was emotionally available, made over $200,000 a year, was honest, had friends he could since childhood, that I wasn't going to get pulled aside in a bar and saying, this guy's a real, you got to keep going. Like I would get pulled aside and say, hey, listen, this guy's a good guy. Like he's like, that's what I wanted, right? Someone who was on time, someone who was good with kids, someone who liked travels. And I just went down the list of all the things that were important. And if someone didn't meet that part of the list, I wouldn't have a connection. But let's just say someone did meet that part of the list. I would meet them again. But then I would say, like, say, for instance, I said I wanted someone who enjoys movies. Now I go out and I meet someone who loves movies just as much as I do. However, they like to see the 12 p.m. show at night, and I like to see the 10 a.m. show in the morning because I'm a morning person. Now I have to go back and readjust my manifestation list to say I'm going to attract someone in who enjoys going to the movies during the day. Do you see? So sometimes we need reiterations of our manifestation list. And usually by the third or fourth reiteration, we have a very clear picture of who it is we want. And that's usually when our partner will fall into our lap, like literally come out of nowhere, will come in when we're very clear on that list.
The manifestation list was one of the homework assignments. So one of the nice things is when you say do the work, it's not like you just go listen to a coaching call and then have your one-on-one coaching call and then you're done. There's homework. And that was the part of your system that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because you could tell the people that were doing the homework and the ones that weren't.
That's right. And if you're not doing the homework, like you've got to do the homework.
And there was 1 week where I had to double it up because I missed a week because I went on a trip. But if you do the homework, and I was a good student, I was a really diligent student. If you do the homework and there's a method to the madness and the flow, and it's almost like you're building the foundation, and then once you get the foundation up, then we're rebuilding the walls of your soul and your emotions, and each step takes you to the next level, and it does help you heal through your process in a much faster way than I ever could have thought of doing on my own. And I know that because I was stuck in a way that I wasn't moving forward. And so I don't know if you're still doing the same process, but if you could kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yes. So we are doing the same process, and we're also doing a little bit of a different process. So what you were talking about is the core part of the work I do, which is the Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond 12-week program. And this is for women who, like you, who are coming in with a very clear decision that we don't want to wait years and years to heal. We know where we've been. We know where we want to go. We just don't know the how. We understand where we've been, and we understand what it is we want. Now it's figuring out, how do I get there, right? What are those steps? And this is a community of women where you come together. It is a sisterhood. We are together for 3 months where there's weekly group coaching calls where you're with your sisters and you're with your family. And this is not a community of women who are complainers and a community of women who are looking to talk about each other. This is a community of women. It's the highest level executive coaching you could get on the personal side because we're committed to the outcome. We want not only the healing and the love in our life, we want the outcome for our family to change that for generations to come. So there has to be the combination, right? So the group coaching is the familial part. This is where you're joining a sisterhood and you're joining a family of other women just like you. So you don't have to be embarrassed or ashamed, and where you can't stand up in a boardroom and say, hey, listen, my life is falling apart. In this room, you can. And also if you say, hey, listen, I want to create a life of love and I want to create a business of $10, we're going to support you. And you could also go right in that room and say, hey, I want to reach millions of people. I want to have a business that's $100 million. We're going to say, great, we're going to support you. Do you follow? Like there's no judgment because everybody has their own story of what's important to them, and every story is important. So with that, you have to have the group coaching, and then the individual coaching is so incredibly important because we all have our own little nuances that we need. You can't see the label through the jar. We need that person to say, hey, I see it. Do you see it this way? Or, hey, listen, I see you're going down this way, but I think if you add this, it's going to make it that much better. Right? So we become aware. And then, of course, it's the training modules. So the training modules are what actually get into the subconscious and begin to change those neural pathways.
And
so that's where you have
consistent with the training modules too. It's the consistency that
you have to be consistent.
That really does make the difference. It's not, you can't do it on Monday, the whole week's worth of stuff, because when you do it on Monday, the whole week's worth of stuff, you're not actually reprogramming your mind. Because I think a lot of it is you have to reprogram your subconscious that you're on your own now. And that's the way it is. But
and
there's nothing wrong with that if you love yourself.
No, and I would even venture to say, and this is just like, this is going to give an example of it's just how language is so important. No one has to do anything. So you don't have to reprogram your mind, right? Like everybody has a choice. Like this is so incredibly important to understand. We never have to do anything. We could choose to stay the way we're living and the life that we're living and the way that we're doing it, or we could choose to make a change. So when we understand that the way to get to the life and the love that we want doesn't have to be hard and arduous and painful and suffering, then we actually can choose a path that, yes, it's work, but it's work that releases. It's work that actually gives us energy, and that we're choosing to reprogram the brain, because now we know when we reprogram the brain and we give it a different program, it's going to give us a different output. Right? I want you to think about yourself as a movie projector. You are the film, but you need the projector in order to project the image. And then you need God, universe, and source's light to shine through the film to project it on the wall, which manifests it into reality.
Yeah.
So number one, if you don't have a film, what are you projecting? You're going to project someone else's thoughts, feelings, and desires for your life, because someone's going to take that over for you, right? So if you don't have a very clear desire and a want of who you are and what you want, someone else's film is playing in your life. And you will constantly be behind the ball wondering, why is my life not working out? Why is everybody else getting what they're getting? And why am I always left behind? Why is it not working for me? It's because you never sat down to really clearly define who you are and what you want. So you've got to define that.
So you actually have training modules. So how would you know how many training modules fit for this person and fit for that?
Everybody goes through the same ones.
They all go to the same one.
Same ones.
It's a system that is proven. I mean, honestly, if you follow the system, I
always say that. If you follow the system, you follow the process, you show up, you make it a commitment, you go through the modules, you come to the group coaching calls, you come to your one-to-ones, there's 100% chance of success rate.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you don't, then it could be anything, right?
If you don't, maybe that person's not ready.
They may not be ready to heal. They may not be ready.
Yes. And there are some women, and I will say this for myself, I was more a tortoise than I was a hare. And sometimes I could go through a particular content with no problem, but let's say there's forgiveness, and then there's trust, and then there's visioning. I may be able to move through forgiveness, no problem, but the trust module may have caught me for months at a time because I just wasn't able to move through it. So no woman is ever behind and no woman is ahead. She's always on time. But I have a theory. We do not give up. And that's where, there's no giving up. And there is no shame if you need a little more time, right? That's where the alumni program comes in. There is no shame if you need to go through the program. Many women will go through the program 12 weeks and then re-go through it again another 12 weeks. That's the way that I am. Because I like to go through something and then I like to go through it again to really get it into my system. But the only difference between a woman who has the life and the love that she wants and the woman who doesn't is a decision, truly. And then doing the things that you need to do in order to get there. You've got to be willing to choose you. And so this is the number one thing that I think really makes us turn in a woman's life is we often choose others and we often put our family and our friends in front of ourselves. But this is a part of your journey. You're not looking for someone to start a life with and have babies with and create, that earlier part of your life. You're looking for a companion to walk this life with, and you don't need certain things that you used to need in the past. So what we're looking for is that soul partner. That's the compatibility. That's the companionship. Right? That's the love so you could be adored and cherished and treasured, because that's one thing that we didn't have. And that's our birthright as a woman. to be in a partnership with a man who adores, cherishes, and treasures you.
Yeah,
But you've got to do that to yourself first.
Diva Khat over here keeps trying to set me up, and I'm like, I don't need set up. It's just going to happen. I truly believe that when it's time, it's just going to happen. And I think I still have a little bit of work to do. I think it's a process, and I'm still tweaking here and there. I find something, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was still a little issue for me.
So that happened. Yeah. But I would say if she's willing to go out with them, meet them, when you have nothing to lose. Well, because again,
I'm open to seeing people. It's just, I don't need to. And I'm okay just by myself for now.
Yeah. And you'll know when your heart knows, like, okay, I'm ready to really open it up. What I like to say is that formula, right? Let's go back to the original Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond 12-week program. The formula is this: when we've done the work, let me actually take a step back, because I love metaphorical examples. This is where I get excited. So let's say we're a woman and we're in a human resource office, right? And we walk by a job posting, and the job posting has 10 qualifications. We have 9.5 of those qualifications. We will say, okay, I'm going to go and fix that 0.5 and then I'll apply for a job, right? The men, or we don't, or we just never even do, right? The men will walk by and say, same 10 qualifications. Oh, I have 3. Great. I'm going to apply for the job. They just do it anyway. So what I like to say is we don't put when we're ready in our own hands. What we say is, I have done the work, and God, universe, and source, I am ready when you are ready. And so my door is open. So I am not going to overqualify myself or underqualify myself, because we could forever not be ready or be ready. Do you follow what I'm saying? So when we just say, hey, listen, like exactly what you're saying, Maria, I'm going to show up and I'm just going to be me. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm also going to focus on the things that are being mirrored back to me of my own work that I still may need to focus on. And again, good word, not but. And God, universe, and source, I am open. Bring him to me when we're energetically, divinely meant to connect, because it's not if I meet him, it's when. And so I'm ready. When you are ready, I am ready.
One of the things I will say about the dating that I have done is that I have had a few good ones, and they were good. They weren't great, but it allowed me to learn more about what I really want.
That's the data collection.
Yeah,
you go back to your list
data
and
collection. Yeah. Cause now I'm like, oh, if I could take this, and this from that guy, and this, and this from that guy, then I'd have my perfect one. So it helps me further.
Yes. Yep.
Going forward. Do you see yourself ever coaching men?
Yes and no. So there is and I have coached men, and I continue to on a one-to-one basis, right? I will work with certain men. However, my mission truly is a woman's heart. I believe I was here to heal the woman. So it's not like I can't, and it's not like we won't at one particular time, but right now that is not my focus. My focus is to heal the heart of a woman.
I see. I have seen there's coaching programs for men, and they're more geared to coming back to their masculinity, which I am a big fan of, because I realized that I was very masculine in my last relationship because I had to be.
Yeah, it's good for us to come to our femininity, right? So it's good for them to go to their masculinity and us to our femininity.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the best relationship, especially for women who are successful at work, is you want to be able to hold your level of success at work and have your partner not be emasculated by that, and actually celebrate that and actually add to that. But then also when you're home, sometimes you need to lean into your partner and to feel safe that he's got you and that he's able to go tap into that part of you, right? And love you and honor you and cherish you and adore you in your femininity. Because as women, we need to balance that, right? The masculinity and femininity.
You have to balance.
I have to balance.
It's all balance. Yes, there really is. That balance is something that needs to be developed.
It does.
Right?
I'm working on it. I went out with a man, speaking of the things that you like, who was extremely chivalrous and was very respectful. And it was a shock to me because I hadn't ever experienced
didn't know how to act.
I didn't know how to behave. I think I did okay because you did good, but I'd never had that interaction before, and it was amazing. And I'm like, okay, whoever I marry, if I get married again, will have that quality.
And that needs to be on the manifestation. And this is the reason why I say if we don't decide what our film is going to be, that space will get filled in, right? So Dave Ramsey, who is a gentleman who speaks on money and investing and how to save and how to live without debt, he always says, if you don't tell a dollar where to go, it's going to find somewhere to go.
Right.
And if we don't tell our life and our heart and our love where to go, see, what no one has taught us, I think in our school and even as women, and not for the fault, because I just don't think people are woken up enough to understand it, is no one has taught us that we are to command our life. Hoping and praying is such an important part. I believe in hope and I believe in prayer. It works. However, we're not meant to just hope and pray. We are meant to command. And that means that I am waking up today with the command, God, universe, and source, that I am a woman deeply in love, a woman with a man who cherishes me, who adores me, with my kids who are happy, healthy, and whole, with God-like partners, serving life, healthy. They have communication. And this is where you begin to decide what it is you want your life and what it is you want your children's life to look like. And you command it.
Mm-hmm.
See, now the problem that we have as women, and I think just as humans in general, is we will go back in just like a chicken. You cannot eat an undercooked chicken. You will get sick, right? So when we put a chicken in the oven, we don't wonder if it's going to be cooked. We put it in a certain amount of time at a certain amount of temperature, and it has been proven to be cooked. Right? And so we don't have to open the oven 1,000 times. As women, instead of just commanding and learning how to command and state what it is we want and leave it, we will constantly go back and check it and wonder and reevaluate and re-say, I want this. Maybe I want this. It's not showing up this way. Maybe I didn't say it right. Maybe I should say it this way. Maybe it's not going to happen. Maybe it's not going to work. And we constantly second guess and we constantly go in. That chicken can never cook.
That's right. One thing I learned I've been married for 18 years. We've been together 25 years. You never second doubt on yourself. You will write that out. You will write that menu and they're going to eat whatever you make.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Girl, I love you. This is it. That's your life.
Yeah.
You're commanding your life. I am making one meal. This is the only option that I have.
Yeah.
Life has to, because when you put that energy and you put the command out, life must bend. Reality must bend. The molecules will bend on that command.
Yeah.
The problem is we haven't been taught to command because that's too forceful and girls are supposed to be nice and that's not nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not true. You know, we could be kind and we could be nice and command, and to command what it is we want. And that's not only in life and love. It's commanding in work. It's commanding in income. It's commanding in a level of life that you're living. We have more power than we know. And the world kind of has taken that away from us because the world, if we could be kept sad, lonely, then we could be manipulated. We could be controlled. We can be used as someone else's prop instead of our own. And when we awake to our own spirit, when we awake to the power that we really have, now we're a threat.
That's why she said you are the flower. You have to keep blooming and the bee will attack the bees. Quality bees.
Now we're going to get really deep, girls. Are you ready to get deep on this one?
I feel like you're coaching me again right now.
Yeah. This is it.
Because I have commanded my household. I have a very loving, happy family without my ex.
Yes.
And my children are very happy. Yes. And it's been such a wonderful household. And I think I haven't commanded that if I bring a man into it, and I think I had a fear that I don't want to disturb that household. And that's part of the reason why I haven't been jumping at dating a lot, because I have a happy life. And I'm
going to tell you, I didn't bring Michael into my house for at least a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
My kids never met him.
Yeah. And
the only time they met Michael was when I knew we were going to be married and I knew he was the one. Because I didn't need my children to see that. And my dating and my life was separate.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of women who like to blend the families. They like to bring his kids and your kids and all, because it just feels so nice. I don't necessarily align with that. I think before you bring someone in, you really should know that he's the one. So your dating shouldn't stop because of that. You follow what I'm saying? So you should date now and data collect. And you don't have to worry about your house being disturbed because you're not going to bring him home.
Yes.
For at least... I wouldn't bring it at least 6 months to a year.
I kind of have a 6-month rule and nobody's made it to 6 months.
Yeah. And that's right. Exactly. And so going deep, and this is the part, and maybe like you were saying, like you feel like I'm coaching you, maybe this information is so incredibly important, is because most women will look at the flower. Like we just said, right? We're the flower. We're going to become the flower and bloom so the bee could find us, right? Because flowers have nectar, right? We become magnetically attractive. We have this beautiful scent that's alluring to the right person, right? Which is what we want. However, our job isn't to focus on the flower. Our job is to focus on the soil that we're planted in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because if you think about the seed of a flower is beautiful not because of the flower, it's because of the soil.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has the right nutrients, it has the right water, it has the right temperature. So our job as women is not to worry about the flower. Our job is to worry, are we getting the right nutrients? Are we getting the right sleep? Are we getting the right health? Are we working on the emotions? Are we getting rid of the anger, the blame, and the shame? Are we happy? Because that will produce the flower. See, the flower is the actual effect of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So our job is to really look at our soil. And that's what I would say to you is, what soil am I planted in? And how am I treating that soil? Does that soil have what I need to be the best version of myself? And if not, then you add to the soil because the flower will bloom.
It also sounds like I need to redo my manifestation.
100%. I would say I could tell you, can I pull some cards for you?
Sure. Just from talking to you again, I haven't updated it in a while, and I've been collecting. I just haven't wrote it down.
It's time to update.
Yes.
What I use these cards for, it's just a psycho-spiritual way to connect with angels, guides, and source, just to get energy and information that we made here. And I just find it interesting, but I'm just getting called to pull a card. But I could tell you intuitively, because that's the intuition side that I have. I built up my intuition over these years. You 100% need to do your list. I wouldn't even look at your old list. Just throw it away. Start fresh.
Start new.
Mm-hmm.
My list is going to be completely different because when I made the list in the beginning, I think that my ex had some influence on it too, and it was more of a list that was anti him.
But what happens? And I'm glad that you said that, because this is where we could truly, as women, have this honest conversation without feeling like we're wrong or we're not smart or something's wrong. It's just honest. And by the way, 333 on my clock right now, which is God is with, like, that's an angel number, 333, which is nice. You probably created the list from the shadow side, not the light side.
Probably. Mm-hmm.
And again,
no soil.
And that's the beauty of the awareness of being able to see it and say, oh, wow, if I could create a list and still get some decent conversations with a list that was created with depleted soil, could you imagine?
Yeah, what I could grow
the
into
conversations
now.
And the connections I could have with a good soil list, right? Because we don't look at what could go wrong. We look at what happens if it goes right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, a lot of times, like, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that, or I don't want to invest in myself, and because this could go wrong and this could be bad. But I often say is, that's fair.
What are you doing right now?
Right.
You putting your cards?
She's shuffling them.
I'm shuffling the cards, yes. So let's just see what came up. That's very interesting. This is very interesting. Okay, so the first card that came out is, we're all just imposters and own it. Meaning, to me, we all as women learn an identity. And many times it's an identity that we did not create. Someone created it for us.
Yeah.
And we have masks.
Yes.
That we show up with in life. And depending upon what group you're in and what community you're in, you'll put the mask on and you'll play the part. And so that's an imposter rule. That's what I feel like. We're playing the part, not because we want to play the part, but because it's what's expected of us. We have a certain role to play. But what happens if we could leave that imposter rule? What happens if we could leave the imposter behind and step into our authentic?
I've been working on that, actually, because I have felt that sometimes I hold myself back because I'm doing stuff that other people think I should do instead of what I actually truly want to do. So I truly own that. I can totally see that. Yeah.
So what you're going to leave is an imposter. And the second card is, if you don't believe in yourself, how could you expect anyone else to?
Exactly.
If you don't believe in yourself and the power that you have and what is possible for you and how beautiful and how worthy and how just that you're worthy just because you are, there's nothing that a woman needs to do to earn her worth. You were born out of love, and you are.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else has placed a value on you that you are believing, and that is not true.
That's right. Somebody else need to find you as the love and how lovable you are. They are
Correct.
not supposed.
Correct.
She's ready to be my maid of honor.
And then it's remembering, and this is another important part, is when we're in this realm of divorce or separation or even relationships and marriages and because marriage is hard, it can be hard, right? Like it's anytime you're with another person, it could be so beautiful and it comes with its own, you have to learn your partner's dance and you've got to learn how to honor each other and learn kind of where you go to for certain things and where you don't, and allowing the person to be perfectly imperfect. Like none of us are perfect, right? So it's honoring that. But it's also just taking a moment, because this is something we don't do. This is why I have you do the 50 reasons why I'm amazing and the 3 things that I'm grateful for today, and why we start off every call with celebrations, is we are literally training our brain to look at what is right.
Right. Because people put in your head for so long, like you are broken. You need to fix this. You need to fix that. You don't.
Yes.
You just do it yourself.
I don't feel.
And that's why this other card is take a look around. You're lucky as shit. Remember that, because you are.
You are.
You are. There are women, and this is if you are listening to this podcast, whoever this woman's heart is, right? When you're listening to this podcast, and I have seen it, I have seen women, and this is tragic to me, and this is why I think this message must get out there, is I have seen women go to their grave never truly being loved and never loving, because the fear, the worry, the doubt of doing the work or whatever, they just weren't able to choose themselves. And in this lifetime, their time expired here. Now, will they repeat it in another? I mean, I don't know. Well, who knows what happens once we pass, right? But now is your appropriate time. The best time to plant a tree was yesterday, and the next best time is today. So we don't sit on our ass. We don't worry. We don't fear. We make a decision that our life is worth more than where we are at. And we do the things we need to do. And we take a look around and say, wait a minute, I could have been one of those women that just left this earth never having the chance to have love. And I'm not going to be one of those women. That I'm lucky that even though I'm not minimizing the pain or the anguish or the suffering, but I am celebrating it, because sometimes a woman, the divorce is the catalyst for her to wake up.
It was. I was a zombie. I was a walking dead. I truly was. I was just going through the motions, just functioning and surviving. I wasn't thriving, and I was there.
Yep. Become
a true shell. And one of the things you had mentioned, the 3 things you're grateful for. So I've actually changed my whole family with this. So every night before we go to bed, each of us, me and both of my children, we do 3 things that went well today.
Yes.
And then we do 3 things that we're grateful for. And then 3 things that we want to manifest as if they have already occurred.
Yes.
And then 1 thing that went terrible today that we learned a really good lesson from.
Yes. I call that Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I love Groundhog Day.
And
it's when you look and say, what did I learn from this?
Today? And then we pray. And it's we call it prayer time, but it's the whole process. And each of us goes through our things. Now, sometimes I will say they could just go through the motions, but on good days, they are just so grateful. And I will say the next day is even better. So it's impacted my whole family, and it has brought us closer together as well. And I think it's important the coaching doesn't just impact you, it's going to impact your whole family. And it might impact other
their
women.
family. Because now they have become accustomed to this. This is their new normal.
Yes.
So when they go on, if they choose to be married and have children, they will follow the same practices.
Yes. And they say, Mom, it's prayer time. They tell me, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. It's prayer time. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Good job, girl. Good job. Proud of you.
Yeah.
Proud of you, because I'm just going to share this. This is I don't know. I don't know if I want to call it a confession or something, but I think it's just the real raw truth. I never wanted to be a business owner, a leader. I wanted to be a stay-at-home. I chose accounting when I first came out of college, because in my mind, I could create a little office off the house, and I would be the mom that would still work, but be home with the kids. And I have the 2.4 children and the picket fence. I'd be a millionaire by the time I was 22. Like, this is the things I was thinking, right? Like, my life would be perfect, and that I would have a husband who would take care of me and adore me and love me. I'm 54 years old, and that just has never have happened to me. Right. And I'm not saying my husband now doesn't love and adore me. He does. Like, we have an amazing marriage, but I'm still part of my mission is where I am. And I think God knew that wasn't what his plan was for me. It was what my plan was. And when I surrendered to the real mission of what I was supposed to be doing, and not in a bad way, but a good way, that's when life really became good. A lot of times we think when we surrender, it's a weakness, but actually it's a strength. right? It's where life opens up, and it's where things happen, and it's where flow begins.
It's where you see the signs. You have to look for the signs and
you have to, yes. And it's such a different place to be, because you may have a vision of what you think is good for you, but it's understanding that your intuition is always going to guide you in what is the best for you, the highest level. And it may not match what you think it is. And if you resist that, or if you fight it, you're going to have a miserable time.
Yes. I feel like I'm reinventing myself as well into a whole different realm, into stuff that just makes me happy, because I'm just following the signs and I'm going with the flow, and I've never been that way.
It's so much easier.
It is.
You know what?
easier.
And this is the part too, when you think about it, like when you follow your heart and you follow the signs and you heal your heart and you're changing the family trajectory and you see how it's impacting your children and family and friends, and you could look and it's like it's easy. And you're like, wait a minute, I could get this outcome and life could be this good without the trauma, without the stress, without the fighting, without all, like, wow, like I could really, it's almost thinking like, is something, it feels like upside down world. But the real truth is, this is the way life was supposed to be. Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be that other way that we were living. We just tolerated something for way too long.
And Katana was blessed. Her and her husband, they have a beautiful marriage, but she waited. I think a lot of times we get married so young in life that sometimes people just grow apart too. And then people stay in the marriage longer than its expiration date, whereas she waited. And then she found love in a true way. And she didn't think about it logically like I did. She thought about it with her heart.
Well, and that's exactly what we teach at Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond, and the Donna Rae method for finding love. It's following that heart. It's when you can take the baggage off the heart. I have a little joke that says, I have a washboard stomach. I just have a couple of loads of laundry on it right now, right? It's the same thing with the heart, is that our heart is so open to guiding you to exactly the right path for you. But there's so many loads of laundry on it from past hurts, from people who weren't true to you. And we begin to make meaning of the situation. We begin to create the stories. And a lot of it's not based in fact, it's based in feeling. So when we could get rid of that and we could recalibrate ourselves and realign ourselves with our true spirit and activate that soul, that vision is a crystal clear path. Life happens for you and it becomes easy. Yeah. And that's my wish for every woman, is to get out of the struggle, is to get out of the suffering, to get out of this feeling of life is happening to you and that all of the things are, all of the sadness and the devastation of a family unit. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yes. Is there anything else about your process that you want people to know?
I would say it truly is a spiritual process, I would say. Put aside religion. It's not about religion. I do believe that this process, the combination of science, the combination of spirit, and the combination of determination and just having someone on your side cheerleading you, I think is so incredibly important, because we can't do this work alone. I have seen so many women, and again, incredibly amazing women, all ages, all races, all sizes, all intellectual abilities, every woman. There's no one I've seen that could do this alone. So the other thing about the process is understanding that what you've been through is, again, just an event. It's not who you are. It doesn't define your abilities of what is possible for you, but you've got to be willing to take ownership of your life and make a different decision, and don't wait to do the work. That's why I created the Donna Rae method for finding love again, which is for women who may not want to fully invest in the full 12-week program, which you have been through. This is a $47 a month membership model that has preloaded materials and trainings. And do you guys believe in this, about how just the frequency of a teaching could change a person? Right? The frequency of sound and the frequency of a training and the teaching could literally begin to change the inside. That's what the Donna Rae method for finding love again is, right? Trainings are preloaded in this membership module. We have 2 calls every single month, but it's a great way to begin to expose yourself to this new way of being, that this can be possible for you, and you can get the training. And should you wish to go onto the one-to-one coaching, you just reach out to me, we get on a call, and then we decide what the next best step is. So there's 2 tracks you could go into. You could go into the one-to-one right away, or you could go into the membership.
Well, that's very affordable. I mean, honestly, if you think about how much money you're going to waste by not healing and being stuck, it's so much. I can't it's so even affordable. Yeah,
it is cheaper than McDonald's.
Well, it's more than exactly. It's like a DoorDash order, right? Like I ordered McDonald's.
$55.
I'm serious, right? How crazy is that? That you go to McDonald's now. I go to a diner. We went to a diner. I decided to take my mother out and I just got eggs. I didn't even get anything fancy. My mom got eggs. I got eggs. It was like $70.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am going to go buy a dozen eggs and I'm coming to your house because I refuse. Like, just out of principle, I am not spending $75 at a diner. This is insane. So yes, the way that I have it structured is a way for women to come in, because there is no woman, if you are hurting, if there is a woman out there that is hurting, if her life isn't where she wants it to be, that's one woman too many. Right. And just as Jesus would have left the 100 or the 99 to go find the one, that one person is so incredibly important to me. And so I needed to, and this is where God sort of directed me and guided me to create this new model, because we are in a new earth, my friends. Like we're entering into a new timeline. We're entering into, so not so much information, but we're entering into a timeline of connection and transformation and awareness and fast transformation.
Yeah, it is fast.
Right. And so you don't have to, this work literally does not have to take years. You could heal in months. And I mean that, like literally in months. And Maria, you could attest to that. Like,
I can attest to that.
Do not believe when people say, like, I know divorce care, and I'm not saying anything negative about divorce care, because I believe it has a purpose for certain people's life. But the first thing that they tell you when you go in there is you're broken and that it's going to take you half the amount of years you were married in order to heal.
Yeah, that scared me. That one quote terrified me.
I'm thinking,
yeah.
but to me, like, I honor a church and I honor what they're doing because they're trying to help, but they're not giving correct information, right? Because that's just simply untrue. It's just because we have data to support that is untrue.
Right.
We could do it in 12 weeks, right? And so this is the reason why I went back to school to become a social worker and a therapist and to blend all of the pieces, because I just didn't want to be a person who just hung up a shingle and said, I'm a coach. I wanted to be the person who actually had the training and the skills behind it to prove and to say, like, that's untrue. Like we could refute that because we have the data to know. So don't believe that.
Yeah, I will
Get your butt.
I didn't date during the coaching at all. So
What was that?
I did not
I didn't hear what you said.
During the 12 weeks.
Right. That's another thing we asked not to do. We asked you not to date because you're dating yourself. During those 12 weeks, you're dating yourself.
But when I got done with the 12 weeks, I ran out there and got a date.
Yep.
And it was terrible. It was fun, but it wasn't
You're not alone. That's what, so a lot of people will do the same thing. And granted, I did the same thing too years ago, right? But what I love about it is because you have done the work and because you have a strategy and because you have a structure, even though you went out there and you found, okay, this is not what I want, this didn't destroy you.
No.
It gave you information and it gave you data to say, okay, I need to maybe not go from 0 to 100. I maybe need to like slow my roll a little bit. I need to follow, I need to go back to myself. I need to so it teaches you.
It was
right?
It was a growth and a learning experience. I took it as such. Whereas before, if it hadn't gone my way, I might have beat myself up. And I changed my mindset to now this is
I'm telling you, girl, I don't know about this, but you are ready. I'm getting that intuition. I'm just telling you right now. Do not wait to date. Do not wait to data collect. Get out there.
Okay. Well, I still data collect. I'm not in a rush. So when it happens,
no rush.
Yeah.
Just what I like to say is if you're open to it, is allow yourself to do what I call my year of yes. And the year of yes is that if someone offers you, say, hey, listen, would you like to meet someone? I have someone. You say yes, unless there's something going on and you have your kids or something, right? Or if someone says, hey, listen, we're going to so-and-so's house. Would you like to come? And because most times we might say, I don't know. I've got a lot of work. I'm really busy and, kind of going by myself. Maybe next time. No, you say yes. If you have nothing on your calendar, you make the promise to yourself that you will go.
Yes, I'm data collecting Saturday.
Yep, good.
Not dating, but data collecting.
Because, and this is the reason why, right? You're worthy of the good in this life, of everything good in this life. And the things that you say to yourself matter, right? So when you're saying to yourself, I know that I still need to do a little work and I'm ready for him, it matters. It matters what you say because you're calling in the outcome.
I got to build my manifestation list though before Saturday.
Yes, you do.
I do.
You need to be very clear.
And the new soil for your flower.
My new soil for my flower.
And also don't worry about what someone else will think of your data list. Meaning if you have qualifications that have to do with finances or the way someone dresses or if they have nice teeth or like sometimes your friends will be like, why would you want that? Like, gosh, you're so like superficial or gosh, you're such a blah, 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 whatever it is. Let other people believe what they need to believe believe you share this list with no one but you and God. And so whatever is really important, because remember, if you have a desire for someone to be something, that desire is a holy desire, right? It is a spiritual desire. So if something's important to you, don't worry about someone judging you. Just put it down.
So should I put
and make sure
everything
it's
down,
there.
even if should I only put the non-negotiables down, or should I just nice to
Everything.
haves as well?
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay.
And here's how, because what's going to happen is as you're data collecting, you're going to keep that list. Now, my list, when I moved into the house, I had my data, I have to find it again, but I kept my manifestation list with me at all times, meaning it was in my wallet. So when I was online at the supermarket, I would pull it out, I would read it. When I was at the pediatrician with the kids and just sitting there waiting for the appointment, I would pull it out and I would read it. So you want to keep it with you at all times, but on this manifestation list, you want to write everything. And he needs to meet 95% of the list. That's the minimum requirement for you to have a second connection with him or to continue a relationship.
95%.
Yes. 95. Now, mind you, Michael I think he met about 95%. And the one thing he didn't meet was height. Because in my manifestation list, I said I wanted someone 6 feet.
I don't care about that. So
I always wanted height.
I'm open to any height.
And now when I met Michael, he met my whole manifestation list, but he didn't meet the height requirement that I had. So I had to ask myself, is that a non-negotiable? And to me, it was not a non-negotiable.
Yeah,
I was willing,
meets everything else.
right, to say, okay, he met everything else and his height wasn't important. It was because he brought everything else in. The height was almost like, didn't even bother me. Right. But now, like, let's say that, maybe he was someone who had a past history of alcoholism. Now, my dad had gone through alcohol in my earlier life. And that to me was not, I just couldn't, that was something I wasn't willing to bring in. So like if he had said to me, he met 95% of my list, but there was one thing where he said, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I don't know if I would have, that would have been a deal breaker for me.
I see.
Does that make sense? And not because of the disease itself. It's because I didn't have the ability. I didn't do my own healing around it yet. I wouldn't have been a good partner to him because I was still traumatized by what happened to me and my family.
Well, then I guess I have other healing to do because one of my deal breakers is I don't want a man that's cheated on his spouse or partners. That's a non-negotiable for me because I don't want to deal with it.
So if he met 95% in your list, but you found out, see, here's the thing, like if he cheated on his wife, he's not likely going to tell you that. That's not something someone comes out of the gate with usually on a date. Hey, I cheated on my wife, so that's why I'm divorced.
They don't want to
right?
tell you that.
Well, if I found out later, then it's a double whammy because then if they say they didn't,
well,
and then
but that's what, so what I would say, I mean, I think like what you want to say in your manifestation list, you don't want to be writing what it is you don't want.
Yeah.
You want to be writing what it is you want. So what you want to say is, I am attracting a man, right, who is loyal to his family, loyal to his wife. What gives him the fire and what gives him the peace is knowing that there's truth, that he's honest, emotionally stable. He has 100% clear mental health history. He's a completely loyal to me, to the family. And so that's what you're going to write in your manifestation, what you want. You don't want to write what you don't want.
Yeah.
Because what the universe doesn't know is that you don't want that.
So don't say, I don't want a narcissist because you'll get a narcissist. And don't say, I don't want an abusive man because you'll get an abusive man. You will get an abusive,
that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So say that I want a loving man, a caring man that's emotionally stable, emotionally available.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's right. And that goes, by the way, for anything. So even in your marriage, right, where it's healthy and it's loving, as you're developing and as your marriage is growing in its timeline, is you could say, I am, as we go on, every anniversary gets better. Every year we get better, we get deeper with each other, we understand each other better. Like there's just a different level to where we are. We appreciate each other. So again, like these affirmations could be for divorce and creating someone to come in our life. It could be to keep the relationship that we have healthy, happy, and whole. Or it could be used to call in the wealth or finances or a job, because once you learn the strategy, you could apply it across all areas.
You don't look at the negative way. You always put on the positive.
Yes, because you want to, right. And you want to know why we do that is because we understand the law of manifestation.
Right.
We understand that.
Yeah. He always said, do not say negative thing about yourself because the universe in your mind doesn't know that you are joking or not.
That's exactly right. Bruce Lee was very, very wise. I love Bruce Lee. I love that man.
Yeah.
Seriously. He's like one of my mentors, even though he's not here anymore. But his level of dedication to himself and his family, but he is spot on. And science has proven that to us now. It does not matter if it's something you don't want. Your mind doesn't know. That's why you might as well create something you want. We've got to trick the mind, command the mind. This goes back into the command is here's what it is I want and here's what I'm commanding. And there is no other option other than this outcome, whatever it may be.
Well, Diva Donna.
I love Diva Donna. I love that.
I do think you've given us all a wonderful coaching session today.
Well, thank you.
I think that all of our listeners this is a valuable podcast because everyone's got such a great coaching session. Is there anything you want to add, Diva Khat?
No, I think I'm covered everything.
It was really a pleasure. Thank you. Well, thank you for allowing me to channel in who I am and just to be who I am and to tap into that energy and really just do the thing that I know that I don't know. Sometimes it just, again, comes through me. And this is a great conduit and a channel. So it's great to be able to speak with you.
Well, Diva Donna, I'm going to let you know when I find my one and how amazing he is because I know he's going to be amazing. So
I already know it.
I am so
get back to that manifestation list. That's it.
I'm so appreciative of all you've done. You really did help me transform my life for the better and move forward when I was not moving anywhere and just going in circles. So I am so forever grateful to you and your organization. So
thank you.
But I think we're done for today. I think we've covered it all.
We did good, girls. We did good. So if you need anything from me, you let me know. I will email you how people could reach me, right? Should they be interested? And then, And if you need anything else from me, you let me know. But it was, again, a pleasure speaking with both of you.
All right. Well, this is Diva Mia signing off.
Diva Khat signing off. Stay positive.
Diva Donna signing off.
All right. Wonderful. We'll talk to y'all later.
All right. Mwah. Love you guys.
Cheers. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We'd love hearing from you. Visit thedivadetails.com to connect. See you next week for more.
Diva Details podcast and website are intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The content provided does not constitute professional, medical, financial, or legal advice. We are not licensed medical practitioners, financial advisors, or legal professionals. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any financial topics discussed are based on personal opinions and experience and should not be considered professional advice. The content provided does not constitute legal advice. The Diva Details and its affiliate contributors and guests are not liable for any losses or damages arising from the use of our content. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organization, sponsors, or partner. All facts discussed in the podcast are researched and accurate to the best of our knowledge at the time of recording. Information may change over time. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements or opinions presented. It is the responsibility of the listener to verify any and all facts that may influence their decision. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.